We've talked about a lot of different topics in Geek Trivia. Some that I've loved for a long time, some that are relatively new. Today we're going to talk about one of my sacred cow geekdoms, Doctor Who. We will cover some of the general trivia topics and some things that the audience are confused about. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Trivia. If you're not familiar with the show, it centers around an alien known only as the Doctor, who belongs to a species known as Time Lords. He travels through time and space in a craft known as the TARDIS, which stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space. Now, a lot of things in the show have come about because of necessity and not planning. For example, the TARDIS is supposed to change appearance to fit into its surrounding areas. But that was too costly, so the Doctor's TARDIS is stuck as a blue police call box. Originally, the show was supposed to be an educational children's show, with the Doctor and his companions traveling throughout history and showing how things did, or at least might have, gone. This didn't last long, as the second story arc dealt with an alien species known as the Daleks. The Doctor can also change appearance through a process known as regeneration. This came about when the first actor, William Hartnell, started having trouble remembering his lines and was going to leave the show. They decided to keep the character, but change the actor. Now, there are several questions that came up about regenerations over the long history of the show. How many can a Time Lord have? The answer is 12. A Time Lord can regenerate 12 times. Many fans think the number is 13, but they're actually wrong. A Time Lord can have 13 versions of themselves, but the first is through birth, not regeneration. Obviously, a limit had to be put in place, or they would have been immortal. There's also a question of how many regenerations the Doctor has had. The latest announcement has Jodie Whittaker listed as the 13th Doctor, but let's count them. Regeneration 1 was from Hartnell to Patrick Terreau. Number 2 was Terreau to John Pertwee. Number 3 was John Pertwee to Tom Baker. Number 4 was Baker to Peter Davison. 5 was from Davison to Colin Baker, no relations. And number 6 was from Baker till Sylvester McCoy. Now here, the show took a lengthy break, with McCoy regenerating into Paul McGann in a made-for-TV movie as the 7th regeneration. When the show started back up again, the Doctor was played by Christopher Eccleston, who is listed as the 9th Doctor, but is actually the 10th. You see, during the break, the Time War happened, in which we find out later in the series, Regeneration 8 was from McGann to John Hurt, also known as the War Doctor. So Hurt to Eccleston was regeneration number 9. Regeneration number 10 was from Eccleston to David Tennant, actually the 11th Doctor. Tennant's Doctor used some of the Regeneration 11's energy to heal and store the rest, but that was used to create a new, mostly human version of the Doctor. So Tennant actually plays 11 and 12. Finally, Regeneration 12 takes us from Tennant to Matt Smith, who is actually the 13th Doctor. This is actually shown in the show as Smith is set to regenerate, and the Time Lords grant him a whole new set of regenerations, which had actually been talked about years before in the show. So New Regeneration 1 goes from Smith to Capaldi, the 14th Doctor. And we're up to this Christmas and New Regeneration 2 from Capaldi to Jodie Whittaker. And if you followed that without a flowchart or pausing and going back in the video, I applaud you. It's confusing even for lifelong fans of the show. The other issue that has come up in the show is how old the Doctor is. Different versions have stated wildly different ages. And this is actually kind of explainable. The fact is that nobody knows how old the Doctor is, even the Doctor. Traveling through space makes determining age difficult. A year here on Earth is 365 days, but what happens when you go to a planet for a year that has a year of 400 days and each day is 28 hours instead of 24? Sure, you can figure out a person's age by taking the current date on their home planet and subtracting their birth date. But this is where it gets trickier. With time travel, that simple equation is thrown out the window. A time traveler could spend a year centuries before they were born or live during the same year at two different points in their own personal timeline. So now it's turning into more of an algebra equation than simple math. And with the Doctor, it's even more difficult, because the character, in the confines of the show, hasn't always traveled just in our universe. The TARDIS has gone to alternate universes, different compressed universe known as E-space, and even crossed the void to get from one to the other. So now we can't even be sure that his body has aged the same way through all of his travels. Now, one of the key features of the show is that the Doctor travels with companions, the vast majority of which are human. Though the Doctor is the main character, his companions are more of a focus than many critics realize. They are often the key to solving a problem. In fact, his companions have made major decisions, taken over the TARDIS, solved puzzles, and even forced the Doctor to do the right thing when he was going to jump ship. The companions have come from all walks of life, all races, genders, and even sexual orientations. They are just as crucial and important to the show as the main character. So there we have just a few items about Doctor Who. As you can tell, if you haven't seen the show, it can be confusing and intricate. Have you seen the show before? If not, do you think it's a show that you might be interested in? If you have seen it, do you understand a few of the trickier bits better now than before? Leave a comment down below, send me a tweet or a post on our Facebook page, and let's discuss it. As always, thank you very much for watching. And don't forget to prod the subscribe button down below so that you can stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions.
If you wanna see some crazy,
Cheerio!
you should meet me and my friends.
Run!
Okay, there we go.
Now, I don't know how much baffling incompetence.
In a mid-action break, Omega has a talk with the bartender, discussing the snow globe and things of beauty. He mentions that he saw a bird the other day and thinks it's a sign